This happened in the summer of 2018. I was 26 at the time and had just finished my second season working as a paid fire lookout for the Forest Service out in northern Idaho. For anyone who does not know what that job is, you basically live alone in a tower on top of a mountain for weeks at a time. Your job is to scan the forest for smoke, radio in coordinates if you spot anything, and log weather data every hour. Wind speed, temperature, humidity. That is pretty much it. Some towers have road access, mine did not. I hiked in 4 miles each way, and the nearest person to me was Brady, the overnight ranger stationed at the base cabin 3 miles down the trail. I talked to him on the radio most nights, just because there was nothing else to do. The tower I worked out of sat at just over 6,000 feet. Small cab on top, a narrow walkway around the outside, and a set of external stairs bolted to the frame. Inside there was a cot, a wood stove, a propane burner for cooking, and the Osborne fire finder in the center of the room. That is the rotating map device rangers use to pinpoint smoke locations. No internet, no cell service. A hand radio and a landline that only connected to the ranger station. I want to be clear about something before I get into what happened. I am not somebody who gets spooked easily. I had done a full season before this one with 0 issues. I knew the sounds of that tower, the way the cab shifted in the wind, the way the stairs creaked in a specific order when the temperature dropped at night. I knew all of it. So when something felt wrong that August, I knew it was not just my imagination running. It started small. On my 3rd week out, I began noticing that things in the cab were not quite where I had left them. Nothing dramatic. My logbook moved a few inches. A coffee mug facing a different direction than I had left it. The kind of stuff you brush off once or twice. But it kept happening. And it was always while I was outside doing my perimeter walk or down at the water cache at the base of the stairs. I mentioned it to Brady on the radio one night and he laughed it off. Said I had been alone too long and was starting to invent things to think about. I laughed too. He was probably right. But then one morning I went outside to do my first scan of the day and found something on the walkway that I had not put there. It was a small piece of torn fabric. Dark green, like from a jacket or a pack. It was sitting right in the center of the walkway in front of the door. Clean, dry. Which meant it had not been there overnight because we had heavy dew every morning at that elevation and everything outside was wet. Someone had placed it there that morning. While I was sleeping, I radioed Brady immediately. He took it more seriously this time and said he would flag it with the district office and hike up to check on me the following day. I told him I was fine but that it was worth looking into. He agreed. That night I did not sleep well. I lay on the cot listening to every sound. Around 2 in the morning, I heard something I had never heard in 2 full seasons at that tower. Footsteps on the external stairs. I sat up immediately. The stairs had a very specific sound, metal on metal, a faint resonance that carried through the whole frame of the structure. What I was hearing was slow and deliberate, 1 step at a time, stopping, then another. I grabbed the hand radio and the flashlight off the shelf next to the cot and did not move from the bed. Just sat there in the dark listening. The footsteps made it about halfway up the stairs and then stopped completely. I waited maybe 5 full minutes without moving. Nothing else. I did not go to the door. I want to be honest about that. I was not going to open that door in the middle of the night on a 6,000-foot peak with no way to call for help quickly. I just sat there until first light. And the moment the sky started going gray, I opened the door and looked down the stairs. Nobody there. But the bottom 2 steps had fresh mud on them. Dark, wet mud. The kind that comes from lower elevation where the soil stays damp even in August. Whoever had been on those stairs had hiked up from below, and they had done it in the middle of the night. I radioed Brady at first light. He did not answer. I tried twice more over the next 30 minutes. Static both times. That alone was enough to make my stomach drop, because in 2 full seasons, Brady had never not answered a morning radio call. I spent the next 2 hours doing everything by the book. Logged my weather data, completed my morning scan, tried the landline to the ranger station and got no answer there either. I packed a small bag, just the essentials, and made the decision to hike down to Brady's cabin. The The trail down was a well-defined path I had walked maybe 40 times. 3 miles, about an hour at a steady pace. I know those woods well, but the whole hike down that morning felt completely wrong. Too quiet, no birds, no wind, just the sound of my own footsteps, and the feeling that I was being watched from the tree line the entire way. When I reached Brady's cabin, the door was wide open. His pack was still hanging on the hook inside. His radio was on the table, still on, still set to our channel. His coffee mug was on the small propane burner, still warm. He had stepped outside and not come back. I did not wait around. I grabbed his radio as a backup and hiked the final mile out to the road as fast as I could move. I flagged down a passing truck and had them drive me to the nearest town to call the sheriff. They searched for 4 days. They found boot prints in the mud near the creek behind Brady's cabin. 2 sets, his and someone else's, heading into the trees together, or at least in the same direction. The trail went cold about half a mile in where the ground got rocky. Brady was never found. The Forest Service kept most of it quiet. I found out later, through someone else who worked the district, that there had been one other incident at a different tower in that same forest 2 summers before. A lookout had reported a similar thing. Objects moved, something on the stairs at night. That lookout had hiked out voluntarily before anything escalated, and the whole thing was filed away and not circulated. I never would have known about it if someone had not told me directly. I gave a full statement to the sheriff and cooperated with everything they asked. But the honest answer to every question they had was the same. I do not know who was in that tower with me. I do not know who left that fabric on the walkway. I do not know if the 2 things were connected, or if what happened to Brady had anything to do with what I experienced up there. What I do know is this. The footsteps stopped halfway up those stairs. And I have thought about that a lot in the years since. Because whoever was on those stairs knew exactly how many steps there were. They knew where to stop to stay out of sight from the door window. That is not something you know unless you have been to that tower before. Unless you know it. The Forest Service reassigned me to a different district the following summer. I went back for 1 more season, then stopped. I still work outdoors, still spend time in remote areas. But I have not worked a fire lookout since. And I do not think I ever will again. Brady's family still does not have answers. His name shows up sometimes in threads about missing persons in national forests. I read them when I see them. I never comment. There is nothing I could add that would make it better. I was 3 miles away and I heard footsteps on my stairs in the middle of the night and I did not open the door. I do not know if that was the right call. I just know it was the only one I was willing to make.